In a small community in northeast Texas, a horrifying crime unfolded that would leave an entire region searching for answers. A young woman named Taylor Parker appeared to be living the life many people dreamed of. She had a relationship, a young child, and was preparing for what she claimed was one of the happiest moments of her life, becoming a mother again. But behind the carefully created image was a disturbing plan that would eventually lead investigators to uncover one of the most shocking criminal cases in Texas. This is the story of Taylor Parker, a case involving deception, obsession, and a crime that devastated two families. Taylor Renee Parker was born and raised in Texas. Before the crime that would make her name known across the United States, she appeared to have a relatively normal life. She was a young mother and was known by people around her as someone who wanted to build a family. However, according to investigators and court testimony, Parker's life became increasingly complicated as she became obsessed with the idea of pregnancy and motherhood. In 2020, Parker began telling people close to her that she was expecting a baby. She shared updates about the pregnancy, discussed preparing for the arrival of her child, and created the impression that she was excited about becoming a mother again. But there was one major problem. The pregnancy was not real. For months, Taylor Parker convinced people around her that she was pregnant. She appeared to attend appointments, shared pregnancy-related updates, and prepared for the arrival of a baby she claimed was on the way. Friends and family believed her story. Even her boyfriend, who believed he was going to become a father, was unaware that the pregnancy was fabricated. This type of deception is sometimes referred to as a false pregnancy or pregnancy deception. While every case is different, experts say these situations can involve complex psychological factors. However, in Parker's case, investigators later argued that the deception was not simply about pretending to be pregnant. They believed it was connected to a much more serious plan. The person at the center of this tragedy was Reagan Hancock. Reagan was a young mother from Bowie County, Texas. She was married and was expecting her second child. Those who knew Reagan described her as loving, family-oriented, and excited about welcoming another baby into her life. In October 2020, Reagan's life was suddenly and violently taken. Her family was left devastated, and investigators immediately began searching for answers. At first, the case appeared confusing. But as detectives began examining the evidence, they discovered connections that eventually led them to Taylor Parker. On October 9, 2020, authorities responded to a home in New Boston, Texas. Inside, investigators discovered the aftermath of a tragic crime involving Reagan Hancock and her unborn child. The investigation quickly became one of the most serious cases in the area. Detectives started gathering information, reviewing timelines, and speaking with people connected to both Reagan and Taylor Parker. One important detail stood out. Parker had been claiming she was about to give birth, but her story did not match the evidence investigators were finding. As investigators continued their work, suspicion focused heavily on Parker. Authorities soon uncovered evidence suggesting Parker had created an elaborate story around her pregnancy. Investigators determined that Parker had a connection to Reagan and that their paths had crossed before the crime. The prosecution argued that Parker targeted Reagan because she wanted to take a baby and maintain the false story that she was becoming a mother. Following the investigation, Parker was arrested and charged in connection with the deaths of Reagan Hancock and her unborn child. The case attracted national attention because of the extreme level of deception involved. Many people struggled to understand how someone could maintain such a false identity for months and how the situation could escalate into such a devastating crime. Taylor Parker's trial began in 2022. Prosecutors presented evidence that they said showed Parker had carefully planned the crime. They argued that her fake pregnancy, her actions before the crime, and her behavior afterward demonstrated preparation rather than a sudden event. The defense, however, challenged aspects of the prosecution's arguments and raised questions about Parker's mental state. The trial lasted several weeks and included testimony from investigators, family members, and experts. Jurors were asked to examine not only what happened, but also why it happened. After hearing the evidence, the jury reached a decision. Taylor Parker was found guilty of capital murder. In 2022, Taylor Parker was sentenced to death for her crimes. The verdict brought a legal conclusion to the case, but for Reagan Hancock's family, the pain and loss remained. Cases like this often leave communities asking difficult questions. How could someone hide such a major deception for so long? Were there warning signs that were missed? And could anything have prevented the tragedy? While investigations and trials can provide answers about what happened, they cannot undo the loss experienced by victims' families. The Taylor Parker case remains one of the most disturbing criminal cases in recent Texas history. It was a story built around deception, a false pregnancy that eventually revealed a much darker reality. Behind every headline are real people: Reagan Hancock, her family, and a community forever changed by what happened. True crime stories are not only about understanding crimes, they are also about remembering the victims and the lives that were taken too soon. Thank you for watching Across the Map. If you enjoy stories from around the world, covering the cases, investigations, and events that shaped communities, consider subscribing for more.